Part 1, The Silent Season of Preparation. Have you ever wondered why life sometimes feels like it has pressed the pause button on you? You're working hard, putting in the effort, praying for change, and yet, nothing moves. Friends move ahead. Opportunities seem to pass you by. You wait and wait, but doors remain shut. Most people call this failure. They think it's proof that nothing good will come. But the truth is, this season of stillness is not punishment. It is preparation. Let me tell you a story. The craftsman who waited years ago. There was a young man in a small American town. He was a craftsman, quiet, hardworking, skilled with his hands. He built furniture so fine that each piece carried the touch of love and patience. But here's the thing. No one seemed to notice that he would walk past the shops in town and see other craftsmen with their names on signs, customers coming in and out, money changing hands. His own little workshop sat mostly empty. He could have quit. He could have said, "This isn't for me. Maybe I'm not good enough." But instead, he chose a different path. During those long, quiet years, he trained harder. He studied under older masters. He practiced until his hands could carve details so delicate that even experts shook their heads in wonder. When the time finally came, when an opportunity appeared, he was ready. People said, "What an overnight success!" But the truth? That success was 10 years in the making. The silent season had forged him into a master. Why the silent season matters. Napoleon Hill once said, "Patience, persistence, and perspiration make an unbeatable combination for success." That is what the silent season is all about. Think of a farmer in spring. He plants seeds in the dark earth. Weeks pass, and the field looks empty, lifeless. A stranger might think nothing was planted. But underground, life is moving. Roots are spreading. Strength is being gathered. Your life works the same way. When you see no progress, it does not mean nothing is happening. It means growth is happening where you cannot see it, inside you. Your patience is being stretched like a muscle. Your faith is being tested like gold in the fire. Your character is being forged like steel in a furnace. These invisible changes matter more than visible results. Because if success comes before you are ready, it will crush you instead of bless you. The oak and the shallow tree. Let me give you another picture. An oak tree can stand for hundreds of years. It weathers storms that tear down smaller trees. Why? Because of its roots. Those roots stretch wide and deep, sometimes deeper than the tree is tall. Now imagine a shallow tree, roots barely reaching the surface. When the first strong wind comes, it is gone. That's the difference between a person who rushes success and a person who endures the silent season. Shallow roots cannot carry heavy blessings. Deep roots can. How to survive this season. So what do you do when it feels like life is silent? 3 simple things. Point 1. Embrace patience as a friend. Delay is not denial. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it never will. Point 2. Keep working when no one is watching. Do the work that matters. Keep learning, keep practicing, keep serving. Seeds grow best in secret soil. Point 3. Trust the process. Have faith that your effort will produce a harvest in due time. God does not forget the work you do in silence. A lesson from everyday life. I once knew a woman who carried this heavy burden of waiting. She often said, "I know I'm meant for something greater, but nothing is happening." Instead of quitting, she began teaching neighborhood children under the old oak tree in her yard. At first, it was just 2 or 3 kids. But slowly, word spread. Years later, she was leading hundreds of people, running programs that transformed communities. What looked like a small, hidden act of service was actually her training ground. The silent season was shaping her into the leader she was destined to become. Your silent season is proof. So, the next time you feel forgotten, the next time your prayers feel unanswered, remember this: you are in training. The silence is not empty, it is full of preparation. You are the farmer waiting for the seed to break the surface. You are the oak, digging roots deep into the soil. You are the craftsman, sharpening your skill in the quiet workshop. And when your season comes, you will not only step into success, you will carry it with strength, patience, and wisdom. Because the silent season was never punishment. It was preparation. Backhand index pointing right. This is part 1 of the 6-part series. Would you like me to now continue with part 2? The weight of hidden potential. In the same style, about 1,000 words, so your full series builds step by step. Part 2. The storm before the breakthrough. Have you ever noticed that the moment you decide to pursue something bigger, life suddenly throws every obstacle in your path? Just when you thought you were making progress, the storm arrives. Bills pile up. Friends doubt you. Doors slammed shut. It feels almost unfair, as if the universe has conspired against you. But what if the storm is not a punishment, but a test? What if its true purpose is to prepare you for the blessing that waits on the other side? This is the storm before the breakthrough. The man who refused to break. I once knew a man who seemed to lose everything at once. His business collapsed when his biggest client walked away. His health declined, forcing him into treatments that drained his energy and savings. Worst of all, friends he thought he could count on disappeared when he needed them most. It looked like the end of the road. Yet, in the middle of this storm, he said something I'll never forget. If I can survive this, I will never waste another day of my life. I will never again take for granted the simple blessings I once ignored. Notice his words. He didn't let fear control him. He chose determination. Within 12 months, his life began to change. He started a new business, this time with wisdom gained from his earlier failure. His health improved because he finally treated his body with respect. New friendships blossomed, stronger, more authentic ones. The storm had not destroyed him. It had shaped him. It had stripped away what was weak and revealed the strength inside. Why the storm matters. Napoleon Hill often wrote about persistence, the ability to keep going when others quit. He said, "Victory is always possible for the person who refuses to stop fighting." That is what storms are designed to reveal. They separate the curious from the committed. They show who wants success only when it's easy, and who is willing to endure when it's hard. They strip away fear, excuses, and shallow foundations. Think of a muscle. It grows only when pushed against resistance. Think of a tree. Its roots deepen only when the wind blows strong. Think of your character. It matures only when you walk through hardship. The storm before the breakthrough is not a curse, it's training. The temporary nature of storms. When you are in the middle of one, storms feel endless. The sky is dark, the rain relentless. Fear whispers, "You were foolish to try. Go back to safety." But here is the truth, storms are temporary. They always pass. No matter how fierce, no matter how long, every storm eventually gives way to calm skies. Your job is not to stop the storm. You couldn't even if you tried. Your job is to remain steady while it passes, holding fast to faith that the sun will shine again. Beyond comfort. Here's the next truth. Storms not only test you, they also push you out of comfort. Comfort is like a warm blanket on a cold morning. It feels so good you never want to leave. But comfort, if you stay in it too long, becomes a prison. Think of comfort as a small, cozy room. At first it's safe. But over time it becomes too small for your dreams. Your talents outgrow it. Your purpose needs more space. God never calls us to stay in small rooms forever. He whispers, "Step out. Go further. There is more waiting for you." But leaving comfort feels terrifying. Fear says, "Stay where you are. At least here you know what to expect." Faith, on the other hand, whispers, "Step forward. You are stronger than you know. The one who calls you will equip you." Two men, two choices. I once met two men in nearly identical situations. Both had worked in the same type of job for 30 years. Both admitted they didn't love their work, but it paid the bills and gave them stability. The first man chose to stay comfortable. He said, "I don't hate it, I don't love it, it's just fine." Years passed. His dreams faded quietly, like old photographs left in sunlight. The second man made a different choice. He heard that gentle voice urging him toward more and decided to listen. He left his job and pursued a new opportunity, even though it was uncertain and uncomfortable. The first months were hard, sleepless nights, financial pressure, doubt from family and friends. But he kept going. And soon new doors opened. Skills he never used before began to shine. Opportunities appeared that fit his gifts perfectly. Within 2 years, he had built something far more meaningful and profitable than what he left behind. Two men, same situation. One clung to comfort, the other embraced the storm of change. Only one discovered his breakthrough. Your turn. So I ask you, where are you right now? Are you facing storms that seem designed to break you? Are you clinging to a comfortable but shrinking space because it feels safe? Remember this, storms are not forever, and comfort is not your destination. The storm before the breakthrough comes to refine you, not to ruin you. It comes to show you who you really are. When you endure it with faith and courage, you will not just survive, you will rise stronger, wiser, and more capable than before. So the next time the winds howl and fear whispers in your ear, choose persistence over panic. Step beyond comfort. Say yes to growth, even when it feels hard. Because on the other side of the storm lies the breakthrough you've been waiting for. Part 3. The fire that shapes character. Have you ever wondered why some people grow stronger after hardship, while others become bitter and broken? It's not the fire itself that makes the difference. Fire, after all, has a double nature. Put a piece of wood in the flames, and it crumbles into ash, scattered by the wind. But place gold in that same fire, and something different happens. The heat burns away impurities, leaving behind something more pure, more precious, and far stronger. The trials of life work the same way. They are not sent to destroy you, but to refine you. Why the fire comes. Every person faces seasons of fire, unexpected losses, broken relationships, financial struggles, health challenges, or dreams that seem to collapse overnight. At first, these experiences feel like destruction. You ask yourself, why is this happening to me? But that's the wrong question. The fire does not come to punish. It comes to prepare. God uses the heat of difficulty to burn away the parts of us that cannot carry the weight of the blessings ahead, the self-doubt that keeps us small, the need for constant approval, the false confidence that collapses under pressure. When these things are removed, what remains is strength, wisdom, and character, qualities you could never develop without the fire. Blessings without preparation. Consider what happens when someone wins the lottery overnight. Without the character to manage wealth, many lose it within a few years. Or imagine a person given a leadership role without ever learning how to serve others. They often misuse power and damage lives. Blessings without preparation can quickly become burdens. But when blessings arrive in the life of someone who has walked through fire, the outcome is entirely different. They value what matters most. They know the difference between temporary pleasures and lasting fulfillment. They carry humility along with strength. This is why the refining fire is necessary. It ensures you are ready not only to receive blessings but to handle them wisely. From victim to student, the difference between those who grow stronger and those who grow bitter lies in perspective. Most people ask, why me? This question locks you into resentment. But the refined person asks, what is this teaching me? This question transforms you from a victim of circumstances into a student of life. It shifts your focus from the pain to the lesson. Suddenly, obstacles reveal opportunities for growth you would never have seen otherwise. The young woman in the fire. I once met a young woman whose story demonstrates this truth. Within a few months, her world collapsed. She lost her job. A long relationship ended. Health problems drained her savings. Everything she had used to define herself, career, romance, vitality, vanished. At first, she was furious. She spoke of betrayal, hopelessness, and despair. She was ready to give up, convinced that life only set her up for disappointment. But then something remarkable happened. Slowly, her perspective shifted. Instead of asking, why me? She began to ask, what is this teaching me? Losing her job forced her to explore a field she had secretly loved but never dared to pursue. Ending her relationship taught her that her worth did not depend on another person. Facing health challenges forced her to practice self-care and resilience. The fire that seemed to destroy her was actually burning away illusions and dependencies, revealing strength she didn't know she had. As her perspective changed, others noticed. Friends began to seek her advice. They saw in her a quiet confidence born from hardship. Years later, when new opportunities appeared, she was ready in ways she never would have been without her season of fire. Leadership positions came her way because people trusted her steadiness. Business ventures succeeded because she made decisions from wisdom, not fear. Relationships deepened because she could now offer her full, authentic self. She emerged not bitter, but grateful. She didn't just survive the fire, she was refined by it. The waiting room of faith. But there is another kind of trial many overlook. It is not the fire of crisis, but the silence of waiting. Between planting a seed and harvesting fruit, there is always a season of waiting. The same is true in life. You prepare, you take steps forward, you do the right things, but the results remain hidden. This waiting room is not wasted time. It is sacred ground where faith is built. When you wait, you learn patience, endurance, and trust. If every prayer were answered instantly and every dream fulfilled immediately, you would never develop the inner muscles needed for greater challenges. Waiting teaches you to believe in what you cannot yet see. A man in the waiting room. I knew a man who felt called to lead others. He prayed for opportunities, expecting doors to swing open quickly. But they didn't. Months turned into years. Others were chosen for leadership roles he desired. It would have been easy to grow bitter. But instead, he made a different choice. He treated waiting time as preparation time. He studied leadership. He volunteered in small roles without recognition. He worked on his character. He served people in quiet ways, mentoring young people, helping neighbors, giving his best even when no one noticed. Years later, a leadership opportunity far bigger than he ever imagined suddenly appeared. And he was ready. Not just ready, perfectly prepared. The years of waiting had been essential. Had the opportunity come earlier, he admitted, he would have squandered it. But because he allowed the waiting to refine him, he was able to step into leadership with wisdom, humility, and strength. How you should wait. The question is not whether you will face waiting, you will. The real question is how you will respond to it. You can waste it in frustration, or you can use it as preparation. You can grow bitter, or you can grow stronger. Remember this truth: preparation time is never wasted time. While you wait, invest in your character. Sharpen your skills. Keep your heart soft and hopeful. Trust that when the right door opens, you'll be ready to walk through it with confidence. The fire and the waiting, both the fire of hardship and the waiting room of faith, serve the same purpose. They prepare you. One burns away impurities, the other builds strength in silence. Both shape you into the kind of person who can handle the blessings that lie ahead. So the next time you find yourself in fire or in waiting, remember, the fire is not to destroy you, but to refine you. The waiting is not to punish you, but to prepare you. Trust the process. Endure with faith. Because the blessing is on its way, and when it comes, you'll be ready. Backhand index pointing right. This is part 3 of 6. Would you like me to now create part 4? The doors only courage can open. In the same Napoleon Hill story style, about 1,000 words. Part 4. The fire of persistence. The rain had been falling for 3 days straight. Daniel sat in his small workshop, staring at the half-finished model of a wooden carriage. His hands were calloused, his eyes tired, but it wasn't his body that felt heavy, it was his spirit. Business was slow. No one seemed to want what he was offering. His dream of building a factory where he could create strong, affordable carriages for farmers felt like a distant star, glowing but unreachable. That night, Daniel nearly gave up. He thought about selling his tools, shutting down the workshop, and finding ordinary work. Maybe I was foolish to believe I could build something great, he whispered to himself. But then, he remembered something his grandfather used to say. A river cuts through rock not because of its power, but because of its persistence. Those words echoed in his mind until he couldn't ignore them. The turning point. The next morning, Daniel decided to walk to town, even though the rain turned the dirt roads into thick mud. He stopped at the blacksmith shop, then at the carpenter's guild, then at the local inn. Everywhere he went, people told him the same thing. Times are hard. Maybe you should wait until things improve. But waiting wasn't persistence, it was surrender in disguise. That evening, Daniel returned to his workshop, soaked to the bone, but something inside him had shifted. He took a piece of chalk and wrote 3 words on the wall. I will persist. Every day after that, no matter how bad things seemed, Daniel worked. When the wood splintered, he started again. When buyers turned him down, he improved his designs. When his money ran low, he took small jobs repairing fences and carts just to keep the dream alive. The law of persistence. One night, while sanding the wheel of a carriage, Daniel recalled a book he had read about success. The author explained that persistence was the difference between winners and quitters. Napoleon Hill wrote that every successful person had faced defeat, but persistence turned defeat into a stepping stone. Daniel realized his failures were not final, they were lessons. Each rejection taught him something new about his craft, his customers, and himself. Instead of asking, "Why me?" he started asking, "What can I learn?" The breakthrough. Weeks later, a farmer named Mr. Collins entered his shop. Collins was a tall man with a rough beard, known for speaking his mind. "I hear you're building carriages," Collins said. Daniel nodded. "Yes, sir. Strong, durable, and at a fair price." Collins crossed his arms. "Others have promised me the same. Why should I trust you?" Daniel felt the weight of the moment. He could have given a fancy speech, but instead, he simply said, "Because I won't stop until you're satisfied. If it breaks, I'll fix it. If it fails, I'll build you another. I don't quit." Something in Collins' eyes softened. He ordered a carriage on the spot. The ripple effect the carriage Daniel built for Collins turned out stronger than anything else on the road. Collins told his neighbors. His neighbors told their friends. Soon, Daniel's little workshop was full of orders. It wasn't luck. It wasn't chance. It was persistence. Each time Daniel delivered a finished carriage, he remembered the nights of doubt, the rain-soaked walks, the empty pockets. He realized those struggles were the price he had paid to earn success. The lesson for you: Daniel's story teaches us a law of life. Persistence is the fire that keeps your dream alive when the winds of failure blow. Napoleon Hill said, "Persistence is to the character of man what carbon is to steel." That means persistence hardens you. It gives you strength to endure what others cannot. Most people quit when they face rejection. But those who persist, those who keep swinging, keep digging, keep moving forward, are the ones who discover gold. Ask yourself today, what dream have I abandoned too soon? What promise have I made to myself that I've stopped fighting for? Where can I persist when others have given up? A story within the story. Years later, Daniel looked back on his journey. He told his son, "Do you know why we succeeded, son? Not because we were the smartest. Not because we had the most money. We succeeded because we refused to quit. Every time life said no, we answered with another try." His son nodded, taking those words into his own heart. And that is how persistence passes from one generation to the next, like a torch that never goes out. Your call to action now: imagine your own dream as a small flame. It flickers when storms come, but if you shield it with persistence, it will grow into a fire no wind can put out. Whatever you are facing, financial struggles, rejection, loneliness, or failure, remember Daniel. Remember the words on his workshop wall: "I will persist." So today, make a decision. Don't give up on that business. Don't abandon that book. Don't stop chasing that goal. Keep working. Keep trying. Keep believing. Because persistence is the master key that unlocks the door when all others remain closed. Final thought: success is not about speed. It is about endurance. The world belongs not to the one who starts fastest, but to the one who refuses to stop. Write your own words on the wall today. I will persist. And then, prove it with your actions. White heavy checkmark. End of part 4. The Fire of Persistence. Approximate 1,000 words. Part 5. The Quiet Fire of Persistence. The sky was gray the morning Daniel sat by his small wooden desk, staring at a blank sheet of paper. His lamp flickered, and his coffee had grown cold, but he didn't notice. What weighed heavy on his heart was a single thought: why hasn't success come yet? For months, Daniel had been working toward his goal of opening a community workshop, a place where young people could learn trades, sharpen their minds, and discover their potential. He had spoken to mentors, read books, gathered tools, and even saved some money. Yet every attempt to secure a building or convince investors seemed to fall apart. It was in this storm of doubt that he remembered a line his grandfather once told him: "Success doesn't come to the one who knocks once. It comes to the one who keeps knocking until the door opens." At first, Daniel had brushed the memory aside. But as the day went on, those words grew louder in his mind. He realized what was missing from his efforts: persistence. The turning point that evening, Daniel picked up a worn copy of Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. Flipping through the pages, his eyes landed on a sentence: "A quitter never wins, and a winner never quits." He closed the book slowly. The message hit him like a bell tolling in the silence. He had been treating his goal like a sprint, expecting quick results. But Hill's words reminded him that real success was more like a marathon. Daniel whispered to himself: "If I fail 10 times, I'll try 11. If I'm rejected 20 times, I'll knock on 21 doors. I'll keep going until I win." That night, instead of feeling defeated, he felt a quiet fire ignite inside him. It wasn't loud, it wasn't flashy, but it burned steady: persistence. Facing rejection again the next week, Daniel returned to the bank where he had been turned down twice before. The manager raised an eyebrow when he walked in. "Back again, Daniel?" the manager asked. "Yes, sir," Daniel said with calm determination. "And I'll keep coming back until you understand how much this community workshop matters. I believe in this project, and I won't stop believing." The manager chuckled, half amused, half annoyed. "You've got nerve. I'll give you that." Though Daniel left without approval again, he wasn't discouraged. Each rejection no longer felt like failure, it felt like a stepping stone. Small victories. Weeks passed, and Daniel kept pushing forward. He spoke at churches, schools, and town meetings. Most people clapped politely and moved on with their lives. But a few stayed behind, curious. One man offered him unused wood for free. Another donated old tools. A retired teacher volunteered to run classes once the workshop opened. These weren't grand victories, but they were proof that persistence creates momentum. Daniel wrote each small win in a notebook he titled Seeds of Progress. Whenever doubt tried to creep in, he flipped through those pages and reminded himself that growth starts underground before it breaks into the sunlight. The test of persistence. One cold December morning, Daniel received devastating news. The land he had hoped to buy was sold to someone else. For the first time in months, he felt his resolve shake. He sat by the fire, staring at the flames, asking himself, is all this effort worth it? But then, he remembered another teaching from Napoleon Hill. Before success comes in any man's life, he is sure to meet with much temporary defeat, and perhaps some failure. Daniel closed his eyes and whispered, temporary defeat, not permanent failure. The next day, he walked the town with a new sense of purpose. Instead of focusing on the land he lost, he asked himself, where else can I plant this vision? By sunset, he discovered an old warehouse near the river. It was dusty, forgotten, and filled with broken shelves, but Daniel's heart leapt. He saw not what it was, but what it could become. The breakthrough securing the warehouse wasn't easy. The owner demanded proof that Daniel could maintain it. By then, Daniel had a list of supporters, donated materials, and volunteers willing to help. He laid everything out before the owner. The old man leaned back in his chair, studying Daniel. Most folks give up after one no. You've been told no more times than I can count, yet you're still here. That tells me something. It tells me you're not just chasing a dream, you're building one. After a long pause, the man extended his hand. The warehouse is yours. Daniel's heart raced. Months of rejection, doubt, and failure suddenly made sense. Every door that closed had led him here. The lesson of persistence. The first workshop session was held on a chilly morning. The floor was swept, tools neatly lined up, and the smell of fresh wood filled the air. Young men and women trickled in, curious and hopeful. Daniel stood at the front, smiling, though his hands trembled with emotion. He thought about the nights he wanted to quit, the days he felt invisible, and the battles he fought against his own doubt. Looking at the eager faces before him, he said, what you see here today is not just a workshop. It's the fruit of persistence. Remember this, you don't lose when people tell you no. You lose only when you stop trying. Keep going, even when the world says quit. That's how you win. Reflection. As the months went by, the workshop grew. Students learned carpentry, mechanics, and design. Some built their own businesses, others found stable jobs, and all of them carried Daniel's words in their hearts. Daniel, too, carried a deeper understanding. Persistence is not stubbornness. It's faith in motion. It's the belief that every setback hides a seed of growth. It's the courage to try one more time, even when the last attempt failed. Napoleon Hill was right. Winners are those who refuse to quit. Daniel wasn't special. He wasn't luckier than others. He simply made persistence his daily habit. Closing thought. And so, Daniel's story reminds us of a truth written in the lives of all great achievers. Success is rarely about talent or timing. More often, it belongs to the one who refuses to give up, the one who keeps walking when the road is hard, the one who believes when others stop. Persistence is the quiet fire that turns ordinary people into extraordinary leaders. Part 6. The Unshakable Mind, Victory Beyond Fear. Daniel woke before dawn. The air was cool, still, and full of promise. He sat by the window, looking at the faint glow rising in the east. For years, this was the moment he had dreamed of, the day when all the lessons, struggles, and sacrifices would come together. He remembered his first days of doubt, when people told him he was foolish, when rejection struck him again and again. He remembered the late nights when his hands shook with exhaustion, and his heart questioned if it was worth it. But each time he wanted to quit, he returned to the voice of discipline inside him, the voice that Napoleon Hill himself would have called the voice of definiteness of purpose. Now, with steady breath, Daniel prepared for his greatest leap forward. The last test of fear. That morning, he was scheduled to present his idea to a group of leaders who could open doors he never imagined. This was the chance of a lifetime, but also the final test of everything he had built within himself. Fear whispered, "What if you fail? What if they laugh? What if you are not enough?" But Daniel had learned the secret. Fear was nothing but a shadow. A shadow could not harm him unless he gave it power. He repeated quietly, "I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul." As he walked into the grand hall, he did not tremble. His shoulders were straight, his eyes clear. Years of preparation had carved courage into his bones. Speaking with fire, the room filled with faces, some stern, some curious, some indifferent. Daniel took a deep breath and began. He did not speak with rehearsed lines. He spoke with fire. His words were not just words, they carried conviction, discipline, and vision. He painted a picture of a future built on determination, a future where ordinary men and women could rise above fear and failure. The people listened. First with doubt, then with interest, and finally with inspiration. When he finished, the hall was silent. And then, slowly, the silence broke into applause. Daniel did not just win approval, he won respect. The real victory, but here was the truth. The victory was not in the applause, not in the opportunity, not even in the success that would follow. The real victory had already happened, on the nights when he chose persistence over despair, on the mornings when he acted in silence without needing anyone's praise, on the days when he conquered the small compromises that would have stolen his future. Napoleon Hill wrote that success comes to those who are success conscious. Daniel understood this now. His mind had been trained, his spirit disciplined, his vision unshakable. That was the treasure no one could take away. The law of the unshakable. Later that evening, Daniel walked outside under the open sky. The stars above reminded him of the countless times he had looked upward in prayer, in doubt, in hope. He thought of every lesson the journey had taught him, that silence is power when used with purpose, that persistence is the bridge between dreams and reality, that discipline turns ordinary hours into extraordinary results, that rejection is never an ending, only redirection, that fear is nothing but a shadow waiting to be ignored, and most of all, he realized that success was not something he had found. It was something he had become. The unshakable mindset. Daniel understood his mission was bigger than himself. He had to teach others that they too could rise above fear, distraction, and doubt. He knew that if one person chose courage, it could inspire another, and then another, until a chain of greatness spread across generations. That night, he wrote these words in his journal. "A man is not measured by his victories, but by his ability to remain unshakable in the storm. Success is not in wealth or applause, it is in mastering oneself. To win the world, you must first win your mind." Passing the torch years later, young men and women came to Daniel, asking how he had built such a life. He never gave them a shortcut. He never told them it was easy. Instead, he told them the truth. You must decide. You must choose to live with purpose. You must practice discipline every single day. You must guard your vision like a treasure. And when fear rises, you must face it, not once, but 1,000 times, until it no longer rules you. Some listened and walked away. Others listened and stayed. And those who stayed carried the flame forward. The final lesson. Daniel's story is not just about him, it is about you, the reader. The final lesson is this: life will test you, break you, and tempt you to give up. But if you remain unshakable, if you guard your purpose, persist in silence, and conquer fear, you will not only achieve success, you will become success. This is the philosophy of Napoleon Hill in living action. And now, the choice is in your hands. Call to action. If Daniel's journey inspired you, remember this: your own story is waiting to be written. Success begins the day you decide, and it grows each time you persist. Backhand index pointing right. If you found value in this story, don't forget to subscribe, share, and comment below. Tell us what lesson spoke to you most, and share this with someone who needs encouragement today. Your unshakable future begins now.